Hey, welcome. I hope you guys are doing okay. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's reading is The Person on Your Mind. What have they realized about you? We have 3 groups for you to choose from. Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. Please feel free to pause the video if you do need extra time to choose your group, but I will see you in your readings. Hey, welcome. If you've chosen the first group, then this reading could be for you. I hope you guys are doing okay. Thank you for joining me. So to start off, we're gonna do the tarot cards for what have they realized about you, and we have the Ten of Pentacles upright, the Sun upright, and the Temperance card upright. So it feels like they've realized that you are emotionally and materially stable, that you're very mature as well. For some of you though, they've realized that you are quite stoic, maybe on the surface, but they also realize that to them you are genuinely a good person in their eyes, and a lot of other people's eyes as well. That you are loyal and consistent, that you also value loyalty. And for some of you, they've realized that you might value tradition, but that doesn't really feel like it's for everyone. They realize that you know who you are, that you're deeply grounded and connected in who you are. And for some of you, they've realized that you are also connected to your roots, maybe to your spirituality or your faith. They've realized that you are someone they could introduce to their family and friends, that the people who are close to them, that they would really love you. If you haven't already met them, that is. They've recognized that you do, or you could create a very secure, comfortable, and loving home, and that you could create a strong foundation for someone like them, that you are or you would be a consistent presence in their life. Like, they realize that you're not a fleeting presence in general, that you're someone who endures and thinks beyond the present, and that you do tend to think long term. And they've realized that they could potentially, or if you guys are already in the process, but they could build something with you, whether that's friendship, relationship, wealth, whether it's emotional or material. They've recognized that they can build something with a person like you. You made them realize that they are capable of building a life worth passing on, like a life that they can be proud of, that maybe other people can be proud of as well. And they realize that you actually make them very happy, or you could make them very happy, that you bring out their more innocent side, their inner child. They could feel they're a lot more playful around you, or just with you in their life, like things seem a little bit more positive, like hopeful. I think that could be the right word. But yeah, they recognize that you are a positive influence. You're a positive person in general in their perspective, that you are a source of warmth and comfort, that you're emotionally transparent, and they also recognize that you are someone they feel proud of. They feel proud to be around you. They feel proud that you're in their life. They could feel proud of some of the accomplishments that you have, or just who you are as a person, your character, and you make them feel seen as well. And they also realize that a lot of people feel your warmth, that you bring joy even in difficult moments, that you're just someone who is uplifting, that you're full of energy, and they realize that you're someone they want to share life's blessings with. They're grateful for you, and you make them realize that they want to show more gratitude for life in general, that you help them feel more grateful. They recognize that you are a light in their life and others, and that you make them feel like okay to be themselves, and they realize that you are very intentional about the things that you do, that you're someone they can't rush, that maybe you do things in your own time when you feel you're ready. And again, that could come back to them realizing that you are quite intentional. So how can I rush someone who is quite intentional about the stuff that they do? And yeah, they realize that you are capable of deep healing for other people, that you are just a calming energy in their life, and that you're patient with their process. Maybe you're patient with, how they need to process things, maybe a certain pace that they need to go in, that you're patient with how they need to, do certain things. And another thing they realize about you is that you are not reactive in their point of view, So moving forward, we have clearing negativity, we have wellness, we have beyond the ego, and we also have baby, reconnect with your innocence. So with clearing negativity, they've realized that you're good at helping other people clear negativity, even if it's not intentional on your part, that you just have an knack for doing stuff like that. With beyond the ego, it says surrender to the flow of life. I feel like there's two messages here, so maybe both might resonate, maybe neither, maybe one. But it feels like they realize that you do prefer to go with the flow when it comes to certain things. But with beyond the ego, for some of you, they've also realized that you're able to kind of put your ego to the side at times where necessary. With baby, they have realized that you are quite innocent. You've also helped them, maybe other people, reconnect with their own innocence. And with wellness, it says the recovery of health and wellness is here. And it feels like they've realized that you've helped other people improve their wellness or their health, whether it's because of your job or maybe with certain people close to you. But it feels like they've recognized that you do, or you have helped people recover and focus on their wellness, okay? But that is all that's coming through with these here cards. I do really hope the messages can be helpful. I'm wishing you guys the best. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Please take care. Bye. Hey, welcome. If you've chosen the second group, then this reading could be for you. I hope you guys are doing okay. Thank you so much for joining me. So the person on your mind, what have they realized about you? So to start off with, we have the Five of Cups in reverse, the Three of Swords also in reverse, and the Five of Swords upright at the end here. So it feels like they've realized that you have endured difficulties and hardships, maybe emotional hardships for some of you, and possibly caused by them. Like this could be referring specifically to them and the relationship that you have with them. For some of you, it could be referring to, things outside of your relationship, especially if, nothing significant has really happened between you guys to have caused any emotional hardships. But there is a message that they've realized that you've healed from them, from something that they've done. And they've also recognized that you're someone. Sorry, so yeah, they've realized that you can see the silver lining, that you're able to take the good with the bad. They also realize that you don't hold on to regret in their perspective, or that you've learned not to hold on to regret, that you are emotionally mature, that you are wiser because of adversity and difficulties that you may have experienced. They've also realized that you've stopped clinging on to something that you've lost, and that you're embracing what you have now instead. But they also realize that they do think you are emotionally unavailable. It could be in general, or it could be with them specifically. But despite that, they also recognize that you are very grounded, or you're more grounded now than you were in the past, or than you were when you were maybe with them, for some of you guys. So it feels like they've realized that you've shifted, or you're currently shifting into a more positive, frame of mind, or you're just moving forward from grief. And they realize that you are someone that is typically quite grateful, that you don't really let setbacks define how you move forward, that you have this quiet strength to you, and that you've shown them how they need to heal or how they need to improve. And they've realized as well, for some of you, that you won't forgive them, but you are willing to move on, to move forward, and that you don't really hold grudges, in their opinion, or that you try not to hold grudges. And that, they've realized in their perspective that you value healing over holding on to resentment. They also recognize that you showed courage when you've been, when you faced loss, betrayal, or another kind of emotional hurt. And it also feels like they've realized that you feel safer without them, like without having them around, without having them be a significant part of your life. They don't know if you'll be able to love deeply again without, fear being there, or, without maybe second guessing things. So they've also realized that you haven't let heartbreak like harden you, or make you harsh, or angry or bitter. They've also realized that you're not afraid to speak up for yourself anymore. Maybe when it comes to them specifically, or another person in particular. It could be in general too for some of you though. But it feels like they've realized that you are abandoning people-pleasing tendencies. You're letting go of someone or people who don't have much integrity, and that you won't tolerate manipulation or other forms of, mind games or emotional games, and that you are capable, or you're currently walking away from toxic dynamics, So another thing they recognize is that they really don't want a conflict with you. You know, they want peace, but they realize that you may want a confrontation with them. For some of you, they realize that you are challenging them, that you're challenging their dishonesty or unfairness or something else you would be more aware of. They realize that you do want them to be accountable, like that you want them to be accountable, hold themselves accountable, own up to certain things. And they've also realized that winning isn't always the most important thing, you know. um, they realize that you want more respect, or you wanted more respect. Maybe in hindsight they're realizing that. And it also feels like you've made them realize the ways that they were being super defensive, maybe where they didn't really need to. And they've also realized that you do carry a lot as well. So moving forward, we have celebrate life. We have flying, arise and see a higher point of view. We have purification and detoxification. And we also have be gentle with yourself and life-changing epiphany or experience. So with celebrate life, they've actually realized that they should have been a lot more positive when it came to you, when it came to your relationship, when it came to certain things within your relationship. That they should have been more celebratory instead of, maybe pessimistic for some of you guys, or like just negative. I don't know what it was, but they recognize now that they should have been a lot more positive. With be gentle with yourself, it says you've healed, you've been through a lot, and you need time to heal and recover. And they realize that. So they could have realized that you are typically quite a gentle person, and that they should have been there to help you heal and to help you recover. So with purification and detoxification, that is something that they've realized, that you are going through some kind of purification process, whether that's mentally, emotionally, internally in terms of like diet and stuff like that. But they've realized that you are going through some kind of purification process, that you are also going through a detoxification process as well, and that you're doing what you can to release physical or energetic toxins from your life. And with life-changing epiphany or experience, they feel that your mindset has, or they've recognized that your mindset has shifted, completely. They feel that you've been awakened, maybe mentally. And they realize that you just see things differently now, that, let me see, that you've just kind of upgraded, mentally or emotionally, maybe physically. And that maybe you are going through big life changes at the moment. And finally, with flying, arise and see a higher point of view. This is a random message, not not related to this card, but maybe it is. But they realize that you are just not as agreeable as you used to be, or they kind of just perceive you as being as more disagreeable now. So with flying, they've recognized that you are no longer confused mentally, maybe when it comes to them or other things, that you are like more mentally clear and decisive. And with flying as well, for some of you, they've realized that you are either traveling and, or they realize that you're kind of just moving away from them. But yeah, that is all I have for those of you who chose the second group. I really do hope it could be helpful and make sense. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Please take care of yourself. Bye. Hey, welcome. I hope you guys are doing okay. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've chosen the third group, then this reading could be for you, the person on your mind. What have they realized about you? Okay, so to start off with, we have the Nine of Swords upright, Six of Cups upright, and the King of Wands in reverse. Okay, so it feels like they've realized they've realized you've gone through a lot of heavy stuff alone, that circumstances have made you mentally resilient, and you don't really tend to burden other people with your problems. It feels like they've recognized that you seem a lot more sensitive on the surface than you actually are. They do think you're anxious, or they feel like they've realized that you're anxious, in their opinion, that you've experienced or currently experience a lot of sleepless nights, maybe due to circumstances, schedule, or maybe it's just something that you experience, for whatever reason. Well, another thing they've realized is that they find it hard to get through to you. They've also realized that you're not overthinking things when it comes to them. They've realized that you've been through a lot of overwhelming situations, but you survived. And for some of you, they've realized that they wouldn't have been able to handle a lot of the things that you've dealt with, in their opinion, they've realized that certain circumstances that have made you harsh, and that sometimes your actions hurt them. They realize that they don't really understand you. They can't really resonate with you. They recognize that you don't typically ask for help. And you've also made them realize that a person is stronger than their fears or their circumstances. And it feels like they've realized that you might be afraid of emotional depth. For some of you, they realize that you are releasing guilt. And it feels like you've also made them realize the weight a person can carry, especially the weight a person carries when they don't speak about their issues or about their pain, or doesn't have, the appropriate amount of help or just the right kind of help. And you made them realize that mental health isn't linear, it isn't straightforward, it isn't black and white, that it comes in waves with breakthroughs and setbacks, and growth can be invisible, to the person who is experiencing poor mental health, or maybe people from the outside looking in. But yeah, you've made them realize that And they've also realized that you do come across as quite gentle and nurturing, but it's a lot more complicated than that. Like, you aren't just nurturing with everyone, that you are quite selective. But they also realize that you are safe and familiar for quite a lot of people, um, they realize that you're not super emotional or sentimental. For some of you, they could feel like you come across that way on the surface. But when it really comes down to it, that you're not all that emotional or sentimental at this point in time, they realize that you're kind without having expectations of other people, but at the same time, they realize that you don't really give freely, like to everyone. Again, like, you are quite selective in their perspective. But they also realize that you do love unconditionally with some of the people in your life. But again, in their opinion, they've realized that normally your heart is quite closed off. But with the people, there are a select few people who you do love unconditionally, and like, they do have your kindness and your love and your nurturing and your support. And they've also realized that you are innocent in some way, and this could mean different things for different people. Like, for some of you, they could feel that you're innocent in a way where, like, you've been like, vindicated. Is that the right word? Yeah, like, you're innocent in a vindicated kind of way. And you're also innocent maybe in terms of, like, your soul, and like who you are on the inside, even if you don't really show that part of yourself that much. But in some way, in their perspective, they've realized that you are innocent. And you've also made them realize that they need to connect with themselves again. They've also recognized that they do feel like they've known you forever. And you've made them realize that emotional depth and connection doesn't have to be overwhelming, that they do have a lot of passion for you, but they don't really know how to maybe show it. So for some of you, they realize how they've been pressuring you to take the lead, or to just do something that maybe that they shouldn't be pressuring you into. And they realize that you don't need clarity from them. You don't need to be pushed by them. For some of you, they've also recognized that you might be like feeling demotivated when it comes to certain areas of your life, when it comes to certain things, maybe in love or career or just like personal goals or something else that you're more aware of. But in their perspective, they also realize that you're playing a role when it comes to certain people in your life. They realize that they do doubt themselves a lot more when they're around you, or maybe when it comes to your relationship or certain things within your relationship. And they've also maybe noticed that you're learning to be confident about certain things. They've realized that in their perspective, you can be possessive, and that you're not always emotionally balanced. Again, in their perspective, they realize that you need space when you're dealing with frustration, that you have your moments of, emotional burnout. And in certain environments, they've realized that you do second guess yourself. but they also realize that you're not someone that pretends to have all the answers, and that you are typically quite authentic, you know, good and bad. But moving on, we have let yourself feel all of your emotions. We have value your self-worth. We have lottery, bet on yourself. And we also have simple pleasures. So with let yourself feel all of your emotions, they've realized that you may not do that. You may not allow yourself to feel all of your emotions, that you do tend to keep certain things bottled up, in their opinion. With lottery, bet on yourself, like that's something they realize about you, that you are going to bet on yourself, that you are going to rely mainly on number one, you know, on yourself. So with simple pleasures, in their perspective, so it says look for beauty all around you, and in their perspective, they've realized that you don't tend to see the beauty of maybe the simple things around you at times, that sometimes maybe it's not easy for you to like absorb the, you know, beauty that's around you and not really take it in. And finally, with value your self-worth, they've realized that in their opinion you need to value yourself a whole lot more than what they think you currently do. Because they've realized in their perspective that you are an extremely valuable person, but they may not feel that you have that same perspective on yourself, whether it's in general or just when it comes to specific areas, you know. But yeah, that is all I have though. For those of you who chose this group, I'm wishing you guys the best. Thank you so much for joining me. Please take care of yourselves, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Bye.